Welcome back to Scripps News tonight. It has been a busy summer of RICO charges for the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. The county is in a RICO trial against rapper Young Thug for leading an alleged street gang. It's filed RICO charges against so-called Cop City protesters targeting a controversial proposal for a police training facility. And most notably, 19 co-defendants, including former President Donald Trump, face RICO charges for their efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. It's that last case we'll be focusing on here, as huge amounts of evidence and the sheer number of witnesses could slow things down. Prosecutors believe the Georgia election trial could take up to 4 months and that it could require more than 150 witnesses to provide testimony. And that's before we even factor in that former President Trump wants to move the trial to federal court. Joining us now to make sense of what's set to be a long process is Alan Tuerkheimer, a jury consultant and founder of the litigation consulting firm Trial Methods. Alan, thank you for joining us. My dad is a criminal defense attorney, and one of the aspects of his job that we don't talk about very often is seating a jury, how long it takes and how the process works. What can you tell us about what it's going to take to seat a jury in this election interference case?
It's going to take a lot of patience, a lot of probing questions, and some really key judgments on which jurors are going to be able to set aside any bias they come in with, are going to be able to tune out anything they read about or any kind of gossip and just focus solely on the evidence. So it's going to take a while, but it's manageable. I think what each side has to think about, and the judge is also going to keep his mind on this, and that's that the people on the extremes are going to be easy to identify and get rid of. If you have somebody coming in saying, I despise Trump and everything he stands for, he should be in jail, that person's going to easily get kicked off the jury. You have somebody else who thinks, this is a deep state conspiracy and they've been doing this since the beginning with Donald Trump, that person's going to go. It's the people in the middle there that are going to have opinions of the former president and these lawsuits or these criminal proceedings, but they're going to have more nuanced views of it. And those are the ones that the parties are going to have to question in a lot of detail and ultimately ascertain whether or not they can sit and be fair and objective and wait till all the evidence comes in before rendering an opinion.
Yeah. A lot of work ahead of them. Prosecutors estimate that this trial could last 4 months. What kind of challenge does this present when it comes to convincing jurors to actually participate?
It's really tough. Who can give up 4 months of? It's hard to get jurors to sit for 4 days sometimes, and then you think, well, 4 weeks is a long time. 4 months, so it's going to take a certain individual that can just either put aside what they have going on in their lives, or just somebody who's maybe retired. You might have a higher proportion of retirees that are going to be part of it. People maybe in the gig economy who are going to have to then maybe do their work at night or try to work on weekends. It's not going to be easy. And it's hard because you want to get a representative sample of Fulton County. You want to match the demographics, some of the employment information, and still you're going to have to pick people that are not entirely representative just because most people cannot give up 4 months out of the year to sit 9 to 5 most days of the week and render a decision in this type of case.
Yeah. And I imagine that severely limits the kind of people that would actually be on this jury. One of the things that I've been thinking about is if I'm a potential juror, what's my experience going to look like?
Right. It's going to be a circus type atmosphere in the beginning. There's going to be cameras, most likely in the courtroom. The judge hasn't ruled on that yet, to my understanding, but there's a good chance Scott McAfee has let cameras in the courtroom on other trials. So at the beginning, it's going to be overwhelming. It's going to be daunting. They're going to be asked questions. They're going to be questioned by, if they try all the defendants together, these are 19 defendants, 19 different lawyers asking questions in voir dire to determine if they can sit on the jury. That's a lot because every lawyer is going to want to ask questions on behalf of their clients. So they're going to go through a lot in the beginning, and some are going to be apprehensive, some are going to be really nervous. And the good news for some of them is it's probably not that hard to get off jury duty for this type of case. But with time, things are going to settle in. And once they start to hear about the case, they're going to get the story of the case. They're going to know the parties. intricate set of circumstances and relationships between all the co-defendants. But then once that happens, the jury's going to be pretty good at just focusing on the evidence and not getting distracted by everything that's going on in the periphery. But it'll take some time. But once they do that, I think they'll be able to focus on what they need to focus on and fairly assess the evidence and then render an opinion.
Yeah. With the time we have left, let's focus on the former president. This is one of the most well-known individuals on the planet. How might jury selection differ here, and what rules could we see Judge McAfee put in place to make sure a fair and impartial jury is seated here with the last 30 seconds we have left?
Sure. Well, everybody knows Donald Trump. Everybody's heard of him. Everybody has some opinion. Some people might have opinions in the middle of the road, but it's going to be up to the judge ultimately. Now, each side gets to strike a certain amount of jurors if they feel like they can't be fair and impartial, but it's ultimately up to the judge to decide if certain jurors are qualified to serve. And so that's going to be a really tough task. There might be a bias one way or the other, they think, but then it's up to the judge, who will then say, hey, can you follow my instructions? Can you be fair to both sides? And if a juror says yes, and if the judge believes that juror, then they have a chance of ending up on this jury.
Yeah. Jury consultant Alan Tuerkheimer, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Good to see you, Christian. Thanks.